Hi, my name is Roberto Sanchez, and today we're talking about our film Lake Los Angeles with Brave New Hollywood.
My film takes place in a place called Lake Los Angeles, which is this kind of remote desert town, and it's about a Cuban exile who's running a drop house for illegal immigrants as they come over, and this little girl comes over and gets stuck there and no one ever comes to pick her up. And then she later kind of runs off into the desert, and it's this kind of parallel stories between these two characters, and both kind of looking for the American dream in their own way.
American dream, does it even exist, and why are people still chasing it?
I don't know, it's a good question. I mean, I think there's an idea that it exists, that there's something better, and whether it's an American dream or any kind of dream, I guess. But I would say maybe no, it doesn't exist. But, you know, we're all trying to get a better life in one way or another.
When we first started writing, when we wrote the first film, we didn't have in mind that it would be a part of a trilogy. We wanted to shoot something out in the desert, in Little Rock, and in various other places. But so, you know, Mike has always been interested in in narrative and blending the actor's real life story with the script. And so with the first one, Little Rock, that's what we did with my story. And then the second film was on my my co-actor's story from Little Rock. and then I mean, Roberto Sanchez, who's in Lake Los Angeles, was in all three of them too. But the first two films, he was just a side character. And in this one, he's featured with his own story featured as well. He never worked at a holding house, but in real life. But you know, I guess that's how the writing process began.
You know, Mike pretty much gave me a general direction, but with this type of a film and the subject matter, there's a lot of personal moments there. I'm an immigrant as well in this country, coming from Cuba, so there were many times when we were shooting that there were certain scenes and certain moments that just reminded me of my childhood, reminded me of my mother and how difficult it was for her. So yeah, a lot of it was really personal, you know. And Mike and I would sit and talk about a particular scene, and even though he doesn't speak Spanish or understand it too well, he trusts that I was able to deliver his message and the direction that he wanted to go with the film.
Well, luckily, my editor's from Mexico, and so he's, so, you know, he was translating. I mean, you know, when we rehearse the scenes, we would rehearse them in English, and then they would do it in Spanish. But of course, sometimes they're saying, there's a lot of improv and ad-libs, so sometimes in the editing thing, I'd be like, what did he say there? And he's like, he said that. I was like, well, it wasn't in the script, but it was good. So some of the lines I didn't even actually know what they said until we started cutting it together. All three films are about a different location out there in the Antelope Valley. So Little Rock, and then Pier Blossom Highway kind of connects Lake Los Angeles and Little Rock. It's the one way to get out of town. So I mean, the landscapes for each place are very important, you know. So me and my writing partner, it's basically would go out there and we would write stuff around places that we found, opposed to writing something and trying to find a place that fits the script.
Well, the location is a character itself, really, you know. In all three, it's what determines the fate of the character a lot of times, besides the conditions like hot and desolate, and it's easy to feel isolated out there. And I guess all the characters in the three films are very isolated, lonely people. So it's almost like this shadow, this like haunting shadow that either pushes the character to want to get out or not. In Lake Los Angeles, Cecilia, the girl character in the film, has to interact with the desert a lot because she actually becomes homeless, right? She's homeless in the desert and has to find ways to make it work for her. So she starts telling stories and maybe seeing things and imagining things so that the desert can become that much more alive for her.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of my hometown. I live in this kind of small town that's remote. And I'm also interested in this idea of wanting to be left alone, because I feel like a lot of people who move out there, you know, you go up some dirt road and there's no houses for miles, and all of a sudden there's a trailer with some guy who lives out there. Like, what brings you out there? What makes you want to stay? And exploring those ideas, and there's something very lonely about it. but I guess maybe the older I get, I want to be left alone more. So maybe I'm thinking I'm going to end up there at one point, you know, in one of those trailers. And there's something like beautiful about it, and also kind of mysterious and scary. And I like this kind of mix of the two.
Mike's films don't always have the happy ending or the ending that you expect in Hollywood, which is what I love about him. He's gonna sometimes leave the ending up to the individual to decide. So what happens? And I think that that's what I love about him, is that his films are always thought-provoking. And you're right. I mean, where is the American dream? I think that when you watch this film, you're going to see two individuals that are at different parts of this journey. I've been here a while, but I haven't quite achieved that journey. And here is this 10-year-old girl that's coming in, beginning her journey. And it's the whole moment is about these two individuals and this moment in time, and then the journey that they continue after that.